Okay, I was eating my dinner listening to this story about the disappearance of Tammy Kingery, and I'm munching away listening to the lady talking, and I'm like, wait, what? You're kidding. What? Huh? Like, are you not seeing? Is nobody seeing what I'm seeing? So I had to quickly put my dishes in the kitchen and come running back to make this while it's still fresh in my head. I haven't even finished watching the video yet. I've still got food on my lips. The disappearance of Tammy. Obviously, for legal reasons, I need to be careful what I say here, but I'm just going to put a hypothesis out there. This is a, have you thought about this scenario? So she was a nurse and she met her husband when they worked together in a drugstore. Remember that, please. And then for the month of September, she was sick all the time. And then the day before she was supposed to go to the doctor to see what was wrong, she vanished. So I'm just putting it out there, she was being drugged. And I know this because the same thing happened to me. A lot of what happened to her, I was thinking, oh, her story's like mine. Except mine was ex, not husband, drugging. She was, they tried to say, you know, she was suicidal and blah, blah, blah. But if he was drugging her, a lot of the side effects to some of these medications, if he was slipping them into her food, is suicidal. Because remember, he tried to say I was suicidal, which was bollocks. You've seen everything I've been planning. That's not the actions of someone who's suicidal. So she knew something was up because she was going to work and checking her blood pressure and doing tests on herself and stuff. If she was planning on finishing it all, she wouldn't have done that hours before she went missing. If you're planning on finishing up in life, you don't run and have to check your blood pressure and your pulse and all that before you go and do it. And people said she was in a panicked, agitated state. So I reckon she knew she'd cottoned on and he had to finish the job. That's what it sounds like. This is my hypothesis. Now, the fact that she left everything and the door was locked from the outside and her keys and that were all inside, which means somebody else had to have a set of keys. What I want to know is, did the kids, apparently the daughter was away on a sleepover, but the two sons were at the house. Did the sons see her come home? Because it sounds like she went missing between the time she left the hospital and the time he got back to the house. Because there's no mention of the kids seeing her, just that she went upstairs, got in her jammies, and he thought, oh, I'm going to let her sleep. So he took the boys out. And I'm always suspicious. You see it a lot when people have sent in hitmen and stuff to take care of a problem for them. They always put themselves in situations where they're seen on CCTV footage. And this man went to a lot of stores that had CCTV footage where he was seen with his kids. The dog was locked up as well, which means that if there was an attack or having to carry a body discreetly or taking someone to the car, the dog would have reacted to that, and this person, whoever it was, quote unquote, couldn't risk the dog drawing attention to the neighbourhood. It was a very rural area, but a dog barking, the dog could have attacked the person who took her body away, reacted negatively, you know, and he couldn't risk it, so locked the dog up, chained the dog up. You don't chain your family dog up if you're going out for a walk, but you would chain it up if, and she said a short walk too, and they lived in a rural area, why wouldn't she take the dog? The chaining up of the dog was the first thing that drew my attention, because it's like getting the dog out of the way so the dog wouldn't hinder the removal of her from the house. She was obviously in if she did make it back to the house, I mean. That note where she says, honey, going for a walk, be back soon, everyone said that was out of character for her. She didn't write notes. She didn't do walks, especially, she'd finished work early because she felt so ill. And they were saying if she felt ill, why would she go for a walk? Okay, so maybe it was to make her feel better. And, the husband was the one that was planting the suggestion. She could have ended her life because she was feeling a bit depressed and, talking about that sort of thing. But if she was being drugged, a lot of these people on certain medications, there is a side effect. Me feel suicidal. Antidepressants, that sort of thing. So I'm wondering, did the boys see her get home that day? Because there's no mention of the boys seeing her. Just that there was a 13-year-old and a 4-year-old, and she went upstairs, got in her jammies, went to bed, and he thought, I'm going to let her sleep, so he took the kids out of the house. And then he made sure that the kids were involved in looking for her as well. And I just find that exceptionally suspicious. And I'm just thinking, see that note, he could have said to her, walk it off. Come on, let's get in the car, we'll go for a walk, leave a note for the daughter that was away. Honey, going for a quick walk, see you soon, back soon, sort of thing. Was that note written for the husband, or was it written for the daughter? Because it's from the time she rang her husband to pick her up from work, because she was so ill she couldn't even drive her car. Was it his suggestion to leave the car there, or was it hers? And then what happened between the time they left the hospital to the time they got back to the house? Did she make it back to the house? It sounds like he had to make sure she was gone before she got that doctor's appointment and had the blood tests. Because as someone who was poisoned by an ex-husband who desperately wanted me to be, he made up stories about me wanting to end my life and stuff, which is utter bollocks. I saw the pattern. Letting everybody know that, oh yeah, no, she had depression and she was struggling with her mental health. That's exactly what he used to say about me. That's what he was telling people about me, and it's utter bollocks. The happiest time of my life, other than when I was a mother, was when I ended my marriage to him and Martin left and never came back. Because then I was liberated, and as you can see from everything I've been posting, I've spent all that time building a future for myself and my sons. That's not what a person who wants to end their life does. And she went to work and took her blood pressure and pulse and all that. And it was rising, it was getting worse. And I'm telling you now, she was being poisoned. Her symptoms sound very similar to mine. Other than, I think he was giving her something pharmaceutical, whereas I was being given like street drugs. Other than the opioids and the weed. So I want to know, did the son see her get home? And if so, Somebody else had keys to that house and removed her. It's like he knew she was dying. He knew, and that he had to get the kids out of the house so they wouldn't see it. And then he possibly had someone come to the house, because I've done enough of these investigations to know that when they send in like a hitman or someone to do the dirty work for you, the one who gets them to do it, the first thing they do is make sure they're seen in supermarkets and on stores and on CCTV camera to distance themselves. No, look, I was here when that happened. It couldn't possibly have been me. And he could have given them a key to the house and locking the dog up so the dog didn't attack the intruder. And I think she knew. And I think he got her to pre-write that letter. So if he didn't do it, he had help. That's just my hypothesis. A what-if scenario. Have you thought about this option? Kind of thing. But the way he was talking about her and making sure that the whole world knew that her mental health was in trouble, I thought, man, that sounds like my ex. I was seeing spots. My blood pressure was going through the roof. I kept slurring my words. I kept stumbling and tripping and falling over myself. But I was laughing. I was thinking, oh, it's me and my low sugar levels. I haven't eaten enough. Get some protein. And then they did the blood test. No, it's cocaine and opioids. So, yeah, her story sounded very similar to mine. Just like how he made sure that he was not in Wakefield when those cops came round to set me up for that false arrest. Cowards, eh? Throw stones and hide hands. I have more respect for someone who owns up to their guilt than someone who pretends like they're innocent. And I'm telling you now, her husband he knew something. He was more involved in this than, and I'm just surprised that nobody's picked up on it. I'm surprised that nobody's gone down that avenue. It's so obvious. And as soon as the lady said in the thing that she disappeared the day before her doctor's appointment, I thought, well, then there you go. Because he couldn't risk blood tests and that being done. Or you've got a high amount of this in your system. And he worked in a drugstore. And nobody's put the clues together. So did he get insurance out of it? Or was she threatening to leave him? Or did he have someone else? Or was he just sick of her? Did he get an insurance payout? Because that's all the questions I asked with my ex. He had a second family. Not that we cared about that. We wanted him to be happy. I always wonder whether him and Martin didn't have life insurance policies out on me. Just because of what I survived, and I know my symptoms and I know what happened to me in the course of my investigation, and then getting the results of that blood test and all of that from the doctors, I recognise these signs now in other cases because they sound so similar to what happened to me. Like my ex insisted that he made my breakfast because he said it was good for his mental health. It makes him feel useful. It's good for his mental health to make me breakfast every morning. Insisted. And used to get quite upset too if I made my own breakfast. And then when Gabriel started getting up early and hopping into bed with me and to have a snuggle, we'd go down and get breakfast as like tea and toast, and have breakfast in my bed. And then he stopped doing it. But every Sunday he cooked tea. Sunday was my night off for cooking. And he would do tea, and that's when he did that pizza. And it wasn't even cooked. He only had it in the oven for about 5 minutes. But I was so busy working on products and stuff I didn't even notice until the room started spinning, and then I got the chemical taste in my mouth. And I realised, holy shit, he's put something in my food. And then it was like, suddenly things made sense. And I panicked, just like her. The way they described her panic, and I took my blood pressure and all that as well. I had a blood pressure machine. I bought myself a blood pressure machine years ago. I took my pulse, I took my blood pressure. I knew something had happened. I knew he'd put something in my system, but I couldn't tell what it was. And so I just drank a ton of water and made sure that my boys sat with me, and I recorded everything. And then at some point I started vomiting. I felt like I had crystals in my knees, like sharp crystals in my knees. Like, oh my God, it used to hurt so bad in my knees. But then I found out it's what happens with a certain cocktail of drugs that you take. It affects your joints and stuff, and it gives you like sensation of like glass shards in your knees. I couldn't kneel on my knees. It was so painful. He made sure all her family got involved in her mental health, which is exactly what Chris did. So I'm telling you now, the husband was involved. My ex got people involved to help him. So it's got all the hallmarks of the husband took her out. Her case is so similar to mine, it's not funny. I was always, like towards the end, the last few months before that night, I was like, I'd have to drop everything and go running, vomiting. Vomit, 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 vomit. I'd be sitting on the toilet floor, and my boys would be standing at the bathroom. You all right, Mum? I'd be like, yeah, can you get me a lemon drink? And they'd go and make me a lemon tea and make me some toast or get me crackers and that to set in my stomach, because I thought it was low sugar levels, because I was exercising and losing weight and all that, you see. And then he'd take me on those death marches. We called them death marches. And he'd berate me if I started slowing down and was losing my breath in that. Oh, he used to say to Gabriel, you and your mother, you're both lazy. And he'd say really horrible things. And my boys would say, come on, Mum, we'll get you back to the car. We'll get you up that hill. We'll get you round, we'll get you back. And in the end, once everything happened and I realised what he'd done, I used to call them death marches. Ever so hoping that I'd drop dead of a heart attack. But my heart's very healthy. When you have a chest as big as mine, that's what my surgeon, because I had an orthopaedic specialist and an orthopaedic surgeon and that, because of my back, like my whole life. And my surgeon in New Zealand said, with the size of your rib cage, you're very unlikely to have any kind of heart issues. Because he said the bigger your rib cage, the stronger your heart. And when they were prescribing me the treatments of morphines and stuff in New Zealand, they did an addiction assessment, and they said that I had a non-addictive personality, which is why I was able to give up smoking and sugar and all my medications, and that's so easy because I'm I'm not likely to have addictions, to get addicted to anything. And he was trying to make me addicted, and my evidence of what I was building and what I was documenting is proof enough that at no point did I have any signs or symptoms of wanting to end my life. When you're ending your life, you don't build an empire. You don't build your future and document it. I never once talk about being sad, unhappy, depressed, having anxiety, anything like that, and nobody believed, like everybody, including my own family. And that's exactly what he was doing. Tammy's husband. It was like a blueprint for my ex. So they need to look at the husband. And I don't think that note was written for the husband. I think it was written for the daughter. He maybe said to her, it's what I felt like is that she was just leave a quick note, like leave your phone, just leave a quick note. We'll go for a walk. We'll walk it off. We'll get you some fresh air or something like that. But I don't think that note was left for the husband for when they got back to the house. I think by the time him and the boys left the house, she was either already dead or on the brink of it, and by leaving the house, he got someone in to come and remove her. He could have written that note, he could have gotten her to write that note months ago and then conveniently left it there. She was set up, and I'm telling you now, she was being drugged and poisoned. And he had to deal with the situation before she went to the doctor the next day. That's my hypothesis. I'm putting that out there. It needs to be reinvestigated. He needs to be his phone records and all that. It was 2004, was it? His phone records and that need to be looked at. He needs to be looked at more thoroughly. Did he get a payout after, because she's been missing for over 11 years now? Oh, it can't be 2004. The links are in the description box. Check it out. Did he get a payout of any sort, and did he get into a relationship after she disappeared, and if so, how soon after she disappeared? Otherwise, they need to be looking at his phone records and see who he was talking to in the run-up to her disappearance, if the boys can attest to her being at home before she went missing. If they saw her at the house, he had help, which will explain why he locked the dog up. If they didn't see her, then she never made it back to the house from leaving the hospital. And then he went and planted all those ideas and then got the police to go to the family to back the ideas up. But that's exactly what Chris did. Chris had everyone in my family convinced that, I needed to get help and listen to the doctors and take the medication, and, that Chris was worried about me and he was just thinking of the boys. And I was like, you effing traitors. From that point on, my family were dead to me. How dare you? How dare you believe him over your own sister with no history of mental illness, with no history of nothing? It was only my sister said to the hospital, that's not Debbie at all. She's got a heart of gold, she said. Even my community care nurse, Tracy, because she was talking to my sister every day. And Tracy, when they were saying, about my violence and aggression, Tracy snapped back at them. She goes, no, no, sorry, no, I'm sorry. No, that's not Debbie. And she goes, sorry, Debbie, I didn't mean to jump in to defend you there. She said, but I need to be quite clear about this. That is not Debbie. She is not violent. She's not angry. She's not aggressive. She said, I've been talking to her sister every day, and her sister says that, Debbie's a lovely person and she's this, that, and she's got a heart of gold, all of that. And then after the meeting, Tracy said to me, I'm so sorry that I jumped in and spoke for you, but she said I wasn't going to have them accuse you of being violent when she said, I can't remember what she said, that's not who you are. She said, she even said to the hospital, I've met her son and I talked to her sister, and I've spoken to people around her, and they all say the same thing. She's just working really hard to get to America. She's hardworking. She wears her heart on her sleeve, that sort of thing. And so Tracy defended me. The other nurses did too. I'm getting emotional. Matariki, eh? Rowing my boat to shore. America is because my son even told them when the social services came to visit, when they were trying to make out like, I was sick and all that, and my son said, we're just waiting to get out here so we can go to America and build that school. My boy said to me when they went to take me away, just remember why you're doing this, Mum. It's for the kids. You're doing it for the kids. That'll be on the police's chest cam. Gabriel saying that. People have no idea what I've sacrificed. People have treated me like absolute shit because my ex-husband fed them lies, and they wanted an excuse to kick me while I was down. There were plenty of people in my life who were just waiting for me to be knocked down so they would have an excuse to stab me in the back in the hopes I wouldn't get back up. Holding on to things from the past, waiting for the opportunity to get back at me, and I got to see who everyone really was. I mean, I stood up and I pulled those swords out of my belly, and now, other than my sister and Amber, obviously, and a couple of my nephews and that, my entire family are dead to me. I don't want to hear from them. I don't want to see them. They can keep away from my boys. All the men that said they loved me, and then, all the friends that said they loved me, all the clients that said they loved me, all of it, I got to see who everyone really was, and I got to see who was getting in their head and who they were doing it for, and I thought, right, that's it, we're done. Don't come back into my life. Don't try to contact me. Don't try and grease me up. Don't try and nothing. But I had to see it because I didn't realise that I was swimming in a tank full of sharks. I thought they were sea turtles and dolphins, and they ended up being sharks and stingrays. And these were all people that I was planning on investing in the future. All my blood money that I get from all of this, I was going to be retiring them all and giving them jobs and, giving them very comfortable lives, until God and the ancestors said, now hang on a minute, Debbie, are you sure? Because look, take the blindfold off, because we need to see that big shiny smile isn't coming from someone who loves you. It's coming from a shark, and they're just waiting to bite. And the second they smelt my blood, man, they came in for the kill. her case is so similar to mine, other than the fact that her family loved her, but they believed if her family get to listen to this, what I would say to them is, are you sure everything he was telling you about her is true? Because it sounds like they were already questioning some of the stuff he said she'd done anyway. Like, she didn't write notes, she didn't go for walks, she didn't talk like that, this wasn't her nature, this wasn't who she was. But with a history in pharmaceuticals and stuff, they should be looking at the kind of medications that he had access to that caused the symptoms that she had in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, like the suicidal thoughts. They need to investigate. They'll narrow it down. High blood pressure, her heart rate, excessive heart rate, excessive sweating. She'd sweat profusely. If you put those symptoms in, you're going to be able to, it'll come up with a list of medications. That's what I did with the mushrooms, the black cat mushrooms. I put in all my symptoms, natural poisons in the UK, and it came up with the list of mushrooms, and I was able to narrow it down to the highest percentage that statistically what I had been poisoned with based on my symptoms. And everything like that it was more than likely black cat mushrooms. So if her family ever get to listen to this, I would recommend them going into some sort of database to put all her symptoms in and narrow it down to the medication she could have possibly have been drugged with. Get his phone records looked into. Get the bank looked at, get the phone records looked at. I know it was a rural area, but either he got someone to go into that house to remove her, which is why he locked the dog up, but they had a key, and that letter had been pre-written and either not for her or not for him, or was for the daughter, but that letter was definitely pre-written. Or I would suggest that she never made it back to the house at all. But if she did make it back to the house, he knew that she was dying. And that's why he thought, if I get the boys out long enough, it's just, if that's the case, how would he have removed her body without the kids seeing? Which is why I'm thinking she didn't make it back to the house. Or when he took the kids out, somebody came and took her out on his behalf. Because like I said, I've done enough of these investigations to know that when they get someone to do the dirty work, they make sure that they're seen by witnesses. So they need to look into the husband and people associated with the husband, because her case is very similar to mine. But by the grace of God, I survived. When I looked into all my symptoms and of what he'd put in that weed and the cocaine and all of that, it turns out that the thing that probably saved my life, the one thing that actually stopped me from having adverse reaction or a heart attack or anything like that, was the weed. Because I did a whole study into the weed, and with the cannabinoid receptors in the brain and the way that it triggers the chemicals and all of that, weed actually protects you from the effects of a lot of drugs and mind control. That's why when you get prescriptions, a lot of times the doctors will say, don't take this with weed because then it won't work. Or you'll have an adverse reaction, like it won't work, because the weed is like an inhibitor to a lot of things that stop the drugs working the way that they should. And also it protects you from mind control. You're less likely to be a victim of mind control. And that doesn't just mean like electronically and that, but like narcissistic abuse and people gaslighting you. You're less likely to be a victim of it if you smoke weed. Scientific fact. I did a whole study in it. So the thing that saved my life that night was the weed. Had he given me the opioids and cocaine in my food and left the weed out of it, I wouldn't be alive now. I was one step away. Remember, from the 8 steps, I was one step away from being murdered. And I'm telling you now, she was onto something. I think she figured it out because they said when she turned up at work, she was panicking. She was panicked and she was agitated. And I think she knew, he's poisoning me. I can remember I used to go so pale. I'd run to the toilet, I'd be vomiting, 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 vomiting. I couldn't get out of bed. He told people I was lazy, but it was because I was being drugged. I got so many videos I was making where I'm talking with slurred, and I'm saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking slurred. It's because I've woken up, and I just, because I didn't think in a million years that the father of my children would be poisoning me. Like, why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you just, well, because he didn't want to pay child support. Because that's what the cop said. Didn't you know he had another family? So while we were living in rags and I was being starved and we were living in a house that was falling down around us, with my son just being poisoned with mould and all that, he was living the high life with another family in another house where they were going out drinking and eating and living the good life, and we were locked up. And yeah, I was scrubbing his poo off the floor when he was coming back from those weekends. So they need to look into it because her case sounds so much like mine. And if your family do ever hear this, they need to re-examine the things the husband was telling them and look at her symptoms and check it out with a pharmaceutical database, and it will tell you exactly what she was being fed. If he had help, it would be very unlikely that her body was found in South Carolina. Probably more than likely she was taken across the border. But if it was him, because apparently where they lived was right on the Georgia border, right close to the Georgia border. So if it was him, see, from the time he picked her up at work to the time they got home, because apparently there's discrepancies in the timeline as well, he could have very well have just dumped her over the border. So I would have maybe gone looking across the border as well. I don't know. I'll have to have a look. I think it says she's been gone missing for 11 years and something. So that would mean she went missing in, 2014, was it? 2015? So they would, was that when people would have had cameras on their houses and doorbell cameras and stuff still? Or they've probably all been wiped now. I just don't think the cops and people did a very good job, because if I was a cop, if I had been called in to investigate it, I would have seen all of everything that the husband was telling them. When I came home, the dog was here and this and that. So the husband was the one that set the story, and everyone went off what the husband had been saying. If I was the cop investigating it, he would have been, I would have looked at everything he said, because nothing he said feels right or adds up. And if it wasn't him, he had help. So I would be checking his bank, because he would have, if he had help, he would have paid them. He could have offered them, if they were people who took drugs, he could have offered payment in the form of medication. I can get you prescriptions. Did he give you fentanyl in the end? Because it sounds like he knew. If she made it home, it sounds like he knew her time was limited, and getting the boys away from it so they didn't witness anything. If she didn't make it home, he knew that that was her last day. And that's fentanyl. Like, a little drop of that fentanyl can absolutely, like, within minutes, you're no longer alive. But I'm telling you now, that letter was pre-written. But she would have believed that she was writing it to one of the kids or the daughter. No, don't take your phone. We'll go for a walk. Don't take your phone. Like, at some point in the past, did they go for a walk? Did they go somewhere where she didn't take her phone? Just, because they were saying that all her friends and family and her husband were saying, you need to work on you, you need to fix you need to heal you. And at any point did he say, come on, let's go for a walk? Just leave your phone behind, because you're always on your phone. Because that's what they keep saying. She's the sort of person that did everything on her phone. So at some point in the past, I would suggest that he said, come on, let's go for a drive, let's go for a walk. Leave your phone behind. Just leave a note for the daughter who has sleepovers, who goes to sleepovers. Just leave a note. Just leave it there. And then he would have taken it, put it away. It sounds so premeditated. He had at least a month to plan this out, because the whole of September she was sick. So, yeah, it stinks to high heaven, and I would be re-examining the husband, looking at his phone records, his bank accounts, if he still worked at in the drugstore. Did he have access to drugs? I'd be looking at discrepancies within the dispensary. For the drug count and all that, I'd be looking into all of that stuff. Phone records, bank account, the drug dispensary. Yeah, it's be too late now for CCTV camera footage and that, because it's been over 11 years, so everything would have been wiped, but stinks to high heaven. It's just, as soon as I heard it, I was like, wait, what? But the links are in the description box of the video and her Wikipedia. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. And as soon as I heard it, I thought, God, that sounds like what happened to me. Very similar. So, yeah, just some food for thought, eh? It's just a hypothesis. It's an alleged what would happen. Just think of this. Hiding behind his kids too. That's the first thing I thought. That's what he did. That's what Chris did. Hid behind the boys. I'm just a poor victim husband. So, right, I'm going to go. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite.